Awesome. So why I even got into this session, actually. So again, my name is Amy. I've been a business intelligence developer for several years, became a consultant. I did not choose to be a business intelligence. I actually got pushed into it or promoted into it. And the reason why was because, and it still is that there's always been a little bit of the friction of aligning business initiatives with tech initiatives. So I have experience previously application analyst, and then I became a data analyst. And they're like, you know what, you're actually really good at helping people that are disagreeing on initiatives agree and then actually moving it forward. And it's something I never actually learned. And I think that's also, again, we could look at the community that we solve things together, and that, you know, I just want to make sure that people are happy and we're reaching our goals. So let me see now how to move on to the next screen. There you go. Okay. So this is an interesting one that I pulled from Gartner, actually. So 56% of projects fail due to poor communication misalignment. So I have absolutely no doubt that everyone in this conference is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. However, and sometimes in our brilliancy, we have our different perspectives and we're miscommunicating with each other. Oh, I needed this internal auditing report. Oh, I needed to have this data mart. No, the data mart, I actually needed to have this type of predictive model. And so it's often not that we're all trying to reach the same place, but it's that communication. Communication means everything, especially for anyone that has started project management training. It's everything. And especially for some of us that are maybe not a native English speaker or not native Spanish speaker, for those that are working in different language settings, like for me, my English and my Spanish is constantly being challenged. So always a learning experience. So for those that don't know what business intelligence is, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to rush through this a bit. I do have to get to a dinner a bit later. What is business intelligence? Basically, it's kind of what the two words say. It's about creating a source of truth. Think dashboards. Think now with AI, we have generative business intelligence now. So think about long-term solutions where basically we give power to individuals to create their own insights, for them to explore patterns and make their decisions and build that impact. However, in order to build those dashboards, build those data marts, build all of that pieces, now adding in generative AI so they can type in questions now into the dashboards or do SQL and all those things, we have to build the pipelines, we have to build the data structure, all that fun stuff. But in order for me to build that, I need to first understand business. And that's the key difference between business intelligence and data analytics. It's all about business value, 100% business value. And this is kind of where we start off, communication. So there's a couple ways to go about this. Is what words are they often using? I actually foreclosed to almost everyone I've ever worked with that I have my meetings recorded. I even download the transcriptions, and I have those processed into my own personal genAI agents that are personalized across different industries. Because I often don't know acronyms. Like, I don't know if anyone's been in meetings and people are just throwing THC or all LOS, and I'm just like, huh? What? But those are the words that matter to them. And me, not being the inventory expert, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a construction director, I need to understand what words are they using. Because that is their world. And I'm trying to, at the end of the day, make sense of the real world into the data world. And I have to mirror that. And the other part is asking them what issues are they having. I almost start 95% of my meetings. I will share my screen, the agenda, but I do start my meetings with what are your most urgent issues right now? And that is it. And then they start off with what are the issues? Oh, we have a compliance report due soon. Oh, no, we have to build a registry. And the last part, which is probably the pain point everyone struggles, is trade-offs. A lot of things could be urgent. A lot of things can be high priority. But what is priority number one? What number two? Which wins are they willing to push back for later, a couple of months to a year? I try to give myself sanity and I give them an expectation. I cannot do 5+ different data marts, pipelines, who knows how many other things in a week. So I make it very clear by visually creating little dashboards from a project management standpoint. What are we always compromising with their requests? Super non-technical, like it's literally like little table that says work effort 1, 2, 3, 4, what it is, short description, progress done, pending, waiting approval. Super simple. I keep it so simple with that. Now, communication components. This one I stole from somebody else, actually, over at Microsoft. We were working on a big project on a healthcare one, and this was a one that resonates with me to this day, even after all the years. That we're always a sender, and we'll always say something, and it's not about what we say, but it is what is heard. There's that whole, we have 2 years, one now, and vice versa. So I'm always cognizant that I try to know that I'm the sender and my message may not always be well received. Example is, in my head, is asking the question of, what is the cohort in the data? Most people in the conversations I'm in do not understand what it means. So I will ask, what data should be in this? Who should be included? Who should be excluded? Who should be marked as a yes? Who should be marked as a no? And then I try to change the wording a little bit in a way that is not so technical data-y, basically. But I think that's the most, I think it's such a fundamental, easy question for me. What data should and shouldn't be in a report or a data mart for the receiver? Let's say, a director at a ED department, anyone in healthcare, they may not understand what that question may mean. So I always think sender, message, receiver, kind of like the game of telephone. Projection bias. This is another big one. We unconsciously assume what others are thinking. I hear it from both sides when I'm working with the data team, where I have engineers or developers that are frustrated with the stakeholders of why don't they understand what they need from a technical end to complete their work. And then vice versa. Executive directors and others are frustrated with their data analytics team, not feeling that they understand the real world and that the data is wrong. On both sides, it's formerly known as information gaps. On both sides, I try to bring examples of our perspectives. But I think what will help, and this is something I really want to encourage to my community, is that we have diversity in a lot of like entry level tech positions, and this is not just tech industry, but also tech roles. But if you want to keep on moving through different levels of the corporate ladder, if you want to say, or you want to even work nonprofit, you want to work across different countries, you always have to be mindful of the way of, who am I speaking to? And that kind of goes back into the next bit, where we actually then take, okay, I know what word they're using. I know what's really painful and urgent to them right now. Okay, let's translate it into a metric. And I say metric, not necessarily has to go in a dashboard or report at all. What is it that we're trying to get them to succeed in? So like classic example is revenue growth. I had here as, are we growing fast enough? But right now, recently, what's in my head is, why is our profit not higher than our, significantly higher than our loss? It's called the P&L. Okay. So then I probably want to create a dashboard that's going to help look at what's eating at the profit and losses and have that month over month revenue change displayed. And then there's a million different ways you can slice about it, but it's taking of what are they complaining about or what they want to succeed in, creating a metric, keeping visuals super simple, don't make it too complicated, and then you get that feedback. So anyone that's familiar with Agile waterfall, you move through it very quickly. Now, this one and this one have two separate slides for a reason. Because in the business intelligence, and it depends on what type of org you're in. Sometimes they have business intelligence sitting horizontally within an org, sometimes vertically. It doesn't even exist. Sometimes it doesn't exist. It doesn't matter what role you are. You have to kind of think about your groups and your stakeholders. Are they technical or non-technical? And where are they on that hierarchy? So for example, ICs, they're data analysts, developers, engineers. My favorite type of work is where I want to know how I'm going to be pivoting this and my queue times and my costs to my runs. That's what I love that fun stuff. However, managers don't care about that or directors don't care about that. They're going to use different language. Okay, so they want to know the risks. What's the value that the so-and-so metric or data mart's going to bring in, and so forth. And these are a couple of examples, not set in stone. And then as you want to get to the executive leadership, competitive differentiation, right? Like Azure's come out with this, Databricks come out with that. Now you got Snowflake doing this. So like you want to change your language as you go through, right? And that's for technical leaders. When we're thinking about, changing our ERPs or changing something. And then we have our business leaders. This is where we have the fun conversations, trying to take down very technical conversations of why we should do a cloud migration or why we should be changing to a so-and-so model into numbers and how it's going to achieve a goal. And it's maybe sometimes not even a technical change. Like my experience working with construction has been very different from healthcare and very different from hospitality. For these individuals, right, they just want another profit loss. And then they want to be able to compete with their other competitors in that area. So again, this is just a series of examples of words that have come up a lot in my experience. And this is something I've worked with some other consultants through, is what are their key risks? Because that's how you get their attention. If you want them to invest into a new tool, upgrade system, add more users, maybe add in a new ingestion system, or maybe we just need to hire more developers, right? And I apologize again if I'm going really fast right now, because I want to leave enough time for Q&A, honestly, because we didn't get too much time together. And this is just an example of a focused visual. My dashboards have not been the prettiest in my perspective. However, they have got a lot of thank yous. I've even won, someone kissed me on the cheek because she was so happy. It got them through. They submitted it through an auditor and got flying stars from New York on it. And they were so happy with it. And, sometimes visuals, they just be really simple. Bar charts, line charts, tables, maybe a heat map here and there. But the reality is, as much effort I will put into my work, I will see, I have my own little dashboards that review how many unique users and what's the time spent on dashboards. It's very little. I've been told people will even screenshot reports and dashboards I built, and that's what they submit. And that is it. So keep it very clean and simple. Super simple. Don't try to make fancy graphs sometimes. Keep it simple, get feedback. If you need to add more complexity to it because they're looking at correlations and things of that nature, go crazy. But start always pretty small and simple. People just want to get their answer and move on, basically. And the next part is setting the context. This is also not a big fun one for some developers and analysts and so forth. Is setting context, labeling of dashboards, labeling of columns, putting in help text, anything that's ever built. Especially when I've done go lives or implementation projects, it's a new system. Especially add context to everything. Make the intentions also known. Like this is to help so-and-so with staff or resource allocation. This dashboard is to assist. So besides describing very briefly what the data does, describe what it's intended to be used for. Like, this is meant to be used for inventory purchase, or this is meant for so-and-so. Make it very clear so that whoever is actually using it, whether it's a manager, director, they know the purpose of it. And then you're having less duplicate dashboards existing out too, by the way. And why is this important? This is a big one because, especially with a lot of reorgs and movements towards generative AI, you really want to focus and hone in where your data exists. So it's less click and play. And you want to know that the information that they're seeing is true and it's relatable and it's bringing value. And that way they will continuously engage with your data analytics or information, whatever the structure is in the company or nonprofit. For the need for data and having high data quality, having a QA system, that this whole system that you have is highly needed. It's not optional. This is needed. And then you go back into the project management side of providing details to create the next steps. So I just want to summarize very clearly that you want to listen more, record those meetings if you can, and of course, if you have their permission, create little genAI agents to process those words that are being said because they are super valuable. Rephrase it. I actually took this from another manager. I continuously, even after a meeting ends, I ask, am I understanding this correctly? I sometimes writing an email, is this correct? At the end, just to confirm what my understanding of the request is. And I think that was a really hard one in my earlier years to sometimes being in a meeting and they're telling me I need X, Y, Z. And I'm like, and then having to like, okay, are you saying X, Y, Z? Especially when working in healthcare where I'm obviously not a clinician. But just repeat it. You'll get better at it. I promise you, and it's okay to be wrong if you don't understand something. It's better to be wrong about the understanding than to have gone through the whole build and send them the prototype and they're like, no, that's not what I wanted. I need to go back to the drawing board. Just repeat. Ask if you are understanding correctly. And then when you're rephrasing this back, again, choose the words that they use, ideally. And this is how you kind of build into trust and impact. I would love to say that I've seen a lot more Latinas in the field, Latinx. Unfortunately, I'm a very lonely person in this world. And this is why I think we need to have these conversations of not only just building our technical skill sets, but also our non-technical, communicating, learning how we navigate different stakeholders, and then building on that business value. So it's a really important intersection. And I will highly recommend moving forward in my life to take a sales class, like learning how to sell something. Really hard. I freak. But anyway, yeah, just learning how to take that business value, creating focus visuals. Don't worry about making the prettiest and fanciest data visualizations. Just make sure the visualization tells the story. It answers what the question was. What was the pain point? Was it increasing our profit loss? Was it increasing customer satisfaction? Whatever it may be. Does it answer the question in less than 10 seconds, basically? And then you keep that engagement alive because people trust you. They asked for X and you gave them X. And people are happy, and then they keep on going back to you and asking you. And that's how you climb up and manage teams. If anyone ever eventually wants to go down that route or consulting, when you're working with different teams, you keep that engagement alive when you're able to communicate and meet each other halfway. Or maybe not even halfway, like 70% there. But, and that's basically the gist in a really rushed form. Apologies again for the audio. On how to try to work and build relationship with our stakeholders, because there's that saying where it's not exactly about what you know, but it's about who you know, and sometimes you need these relationships. Like, I would not be living in the Bahamas right now. Never in my wildest dream if I just focus on like not building and learning how to work with managers, how to prioritize things, how to sell. Like, hey, you should upgrade to Power BI. Oh, you should do, set up, Databricks or whatever it may be. Like, it was all through listening, what do they need? Oh, they don't need that. Okay, let me focus on this. Trying simple solutions. And then people have just been happy that way. And I've seen that success happen through and through again through less technical, more communication. And data is everything. I will always love data. And I'm happy and hoping that more Latinx will push through on this beautiful intersection of business intelligence, even if you're not business intelligence. So, questions, I'm here for it. Sorry if that was way too fast. How do you use AI agents to break down meetings and keep them up? Oh, yeah, this is my... I use AI more for stakeholder management than actual, using predictive models, unfortunately. So where I come in as a consultant, I specialize more nowadays in your enterprise relation planning implementation. So it's one of the organizations flipping to a whole new thing, right? So I have agents across different sectors. So I have one right now that's specifically just pharmacy. I have one that's just specifically towards construction, right? And then those, I have them set up with foremost and everything that I think of. I go through what is the audit, like what are the audit necessities of that organization in that set country. So for example, what are the pharmaceutical laws here in the US? I downloaded a bunch of those files and put it into my agent, trained it a bit to understand what are the pharmacy needs in the US. And it also has instructions to read through my transcripts. And so it just takes in my transcripts. Because I'm not a pharmacist, don't know anything about compound and MDB drugs. And it just tells me what was discussed. I review it. Obviously, there's a lot of times where I feel like it doesn't quite understand what was said in the meeting. And I just kind of copy and paste those. And then I send them as meeting minutes. But my meeting minutes, it's already instructed that don't give me audience, don't give me a long key discussion. Just give me what are my next steps, and there's a format everybody knows that I've set up. It's been controlled to just say, what's the priority on the numerical scale of what we have. What's the description of it? Who's owning it? And what are the dates? But yeah, that's what I predominantly use right now, generative AI on this. But I trained it and I have it focused on each industry and role, basically. But yeah, I mostly just also for further context, mostly engage also with data strategy, the data strategy. So hence why I'm not doing as much technical build anymore. I'm mostly consulting on like how do developers get assigned their works, how is their alignment between data sources, data reporting across different data sources, especially for much larger orgs. So that's how I see AI. It's really helpful. Any other questions? And I will share the PowerPoint slide for anyone, by
the way. Amy, jumping in, I don't have a question, more so of a noticing or a comment that I think sparks a really interesting conversation. And I could be biased because like I know our theme is in community, but one thing that I noticed, like a common theme throughout your presentation is kind of like being able to like bridge through conversations, whether you are a technical person speaking to a non-technical person, whether you vice versa, speaking to someone in medicine and kind of figuring out that common ground, which is a skill I think a lot of people could use, or when they leverage, they kind of take themselves from like A to B. And I'm also finding it really fascinating that a lot of people here are like making connections and like, you're like, I would love to see people in my field, but also like even having a connection with someone who is in health tech and knowing you could be a huge advantage. So I just, I was just sitting here thinking and appreciating that part of your presentation and just like naming that.
Yeah, thank you. No, yeah, it's been intimidating sometimes when, as a Latina, I'm not very tall, guys. I walk in and there's a room full of guys in suits. And it's like, okay. I'm trying to like walk in with heels all the time, by the way. FYI, I come with my heels. No shame. That's taking some time, and I learned that from someone else. Just be proud of who you are, I've even walked into fintech events